Hi everybody, welcome back. This is your second lesson in trigonometry. There are 5 questions up on the board right now, so while we wait for everyone to arrive, please start doing those 5 questions. For each of them you have to say in which quadrant does the terminal arm of angle theta lie if, and then there are the different options. So basically you just have to say in what quadrant those functions will be positive or negative. Please do those now, and in a few minutes we'll go through them. Hi again, everybody. Sade, Sepesihle. Hi, Tumelo. Welcome. Valerie and Tokozane. Welcome. Hi, Malang. Welcome back, Adam. And please start working on the 5 questions that are up on the board. In about 2 minutes, we'll start going through them while we wait for everyone to arrive. Hi, Nikayla. Welcome back, Sisetu. Welcome back, Rabone. Okay, 1 more minute and then we're going to kick off. Welcome back, Oratilwe. Right, great, everybody. Let's start our lesson. And today's lesson is going to pick up where we left off on Tuesday. Tuesday, we revised grade 10 trigonometry. And we spent quite a bit of time going through the cast diagram, if you remember, and talking a bit about when you do trigonometry on the Cartesian plane. So today's lesson is going to focus on that, trig on the Cartesian plane and doing Pythagoras type questions. Okay, so for the first question that you had to try while we were waiting for our do now, you had to say for which quadrant, in which quadrant is sine theta greater than 0, in other words, positive, and cos theta also positive. So that must be positive, and this is positive. And in which quadrant does that happen? Let's see, I'm going to move over to the answers over here. And that happens in the first quadrant. That's right, Asemachle, well done. First quadrant, we get sine positive and cos positive. Both of them at the same time positive. Right, let's see. Second question was, where is tan positive and, just change my color here, tan positive and cos negative? In which quadrant would that be? Put your answer in the chat, please, so that I can see. Third quadrant. Third quadrant. Many of you are saying third quadrant. I agree, it is the third quadrant. Well done. Question 5, question 3, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Question C, cos is negative and the theta, our angle, has to be between 0 and 180 degrees. What does that imply? It means that you have to be either in the first or the second quadrant, because that is going to be between 0 and 180, and cos must be negative. Please put your answer in the chat so I can see. Second quadrant, I totally agree with that. Well done, second quadrant. Then for question D, tan must be negative and theta must be between 0 and 270. So now we're only looking at first, second, third quadrant. And where is tan negative in those three quadrants? People are putting their answers up. Second quadrant. I agree with that. Second quadrant. Well done. And lastly, where is sine positive? Sine is positive and the angle must be between 90 and 360 degrees. So if we go 90 to 360 and sine is positive, that can only be in the second quadrant as well. Okay, so all the last three were all second quadrants. Right, good stuff. So that was our little warm-up for today. Just before we start, make sure you've got your calculator. We are going to use our calculators, but we're also going to do some work without calculators. So make sure you've got your calculator ready. Right, so let's get going with trig on the Cartesian plane. And this question typically involves you having to use Pythagoras and you having to find trig ratios using a sketch. If you're going to write your grade 11 and grade 12 exams, this is normally the first trigonometry question that gets asked. The first trigonometry question involves a diagram and you not using your calculator to find sine, cos, tan, and any combination of things. So two things can happen. The diagram can be given, or you must draw your own diagram. So the first example I'm going to do is of where the diagram is given. Okay, so let's see. We've got angle theta, and it's indicated on the sketch, and P is the point -7 and 24. Now, without a calculator, determine cos theta, sine theta, tan theta. Okay, now before we can do anything, we need to now work with this diagram and create a triangle, a 90-degree triangle that we can use to find cos, sine, and tan. How do we do this? Okay, so from this point P, we can drop down a perpendicular to the x-axis. And there we've created a little 90-degree triangle. This is my x and this is my y. So already I can fill in on my sketch that this is going to be -7 and this is going to be 24. Now, if you remember from Tuesday's lesson, we also talked about the x and the y and the r. So r is my hypotenuse side when I am working on the Cartesian plane. We don't have r in this instance, so we need to calculate it. We need it because we needed to do sine, cos, and tan on the Cartesian plane. So how are we going to calculate r? Well, r is the hypotenuse, and because it's a right-angled triangle, you can use Pythagoras to calculate what r is. So r squared is going to be x squared plus y squared, and that is just simply because of Pythagoras. I'm going to substitute in the values that I've got. This is -7. Remember, we're on the Cartesian plane, so we retain the signs of the x's and the y's. R is always positive. That was all in Tuesday's lesson. Okay. And that is 24 squared. Now, I just need to quickly find my calculator. Over here. But you can work that out so long. I tell you that you have to have your calculator, and then I forget mine. Okay, so what have we got? We've got -7 squared plus 24 squared. And that is 625. And then I take the square root of that. And then r is 25. Okay, right. So now that I've got r, now I can start answering my questions. Okay. So determine without a calculator. So you use your calculator to do the Pythagoras and to find what r is, what the missing side is, but then you need to not use your calculator to find out what cos theta is. So cos theta on the Cartesian plane is the adjacent over the hypotenuse, or x over r. X over r. And in our case, x is -7 and r is 25. Okay. Excellent, Valerie, Samuel. I see you guys put answers up for r. Good stuff. So there is cos theta, x over r. Please now carry on. See if you can manage on your own to do b and c. Sine theta and tan theta. As soon as you've got your answer, you can put it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and tell me what you think the answer is. Okay, Samuel says sine theta is 24 over 25. Okay, thanks Tamilo and Valerie. Okay, so sine theta, for sine theta, we do opposite over hypotenuse, or y over r. Y over r. And y is 25 and y is 24 and y is 25. Good. Okay, and Asamachle's already got tan, and Oratilwe already has tan. Let's give everyone else another minute to calculate tan. Okay, so for tan, we use adjacent over hypotenuse. Oh, no, what am I saying? Opposite over adjacent. I'm forgetting my TOA. Opposite over adjacent, or y over x. And that is 24 over -7. Okay, so to get all of your marks, you do not use your calculator to give decimal answers or anything like that. That's going to be a dead giveaway to your teacher that you've used your calculator. It must be like this in fraction form. The only part where you can use your calculator is to do the Pythagoras. This you can do on your calculator, unless you're a whiz and you know how to work out -7 squared plus 24 squared added together and then taking the square root of that. Unless your brain can work like that. Otherwise, you can use your calculator. Right. How's everyone doing so far? Please put an emoji in the chat so I can see if you're with me and if you are comfortable with what we've done so far. Got thumbs up. Lots of thumbs up. Good stuff. Nice. Samuel's got a thumbs up. Great. Right, so let's carry on. So that was kind of easy because we had a diagram and we just had to do the Pythagoras and then put down the ratios. Now let's see if they don't give you a diagram and they start asking stuff like this, cos theta plus sine theta and so on. Okay, so if sine theta is -3/5 and theta is between 0 and 270, use a sketch without a calculator, determine, and then you must determine those things there. Okay, but we first have to do our sketch and then use Pythagoras to find all our sides so that we can do sine, cos, and tan using the sketch. Now, it says here that sine theta is -3/5. So before you start, you just need to do a bit of thinking. And maybe what you do is you draw a sort of a tiny little Cartesian plane here for yourself, and you think about all stations to Cape Town or Coast, and where's sine negative? Now, sine is negative in the second quadrant and the third quadrant. Okay, we can't draw sketches in both quadrants. That is why this piece of information is here. It must be I'm just going to change it because it's actually not helping us. Going to change it to 180, 0 to 180. So we can't draw in both quadrants or in all three, or actually sine is negative here as well. But now that I've changed the question, that makes a bit more sense. So, no, sorry, that's not right. That's right. I'm thinking where's cos positive? Let me redo that. Okay, restart, reset. So sine is negative in which quadrants? It's negative in the third and the fourth. Yes, third and fourth. Okay, but we can't draw in both quadrants. This is why we get this second clue that tells us which quadrant to draw in. So it must be between 0 and 270 degrees. So that must be here, because this is 270 and then it's 360. So I am going to draw my sketch in the third quadrant. Okay, so that's the first bit of thinking you have to do. What quadrant must I draw in? And that comes from seeing that the ratio that's given, this one here, is negative, and sine is negative in the third and the fourth quadrant, and then it says, but theta has to be between 0 and 270, so I actually have to end up drawing in the third quadrant. Sorry if I confused you at any point with that. So let's do that now. I'm going to draw my quadrant, my straight line here. Let me just do that. Okay. And this means that theta is in the third quadrant, so it's over here. So put your theta in next. Okay, so that is where my angle is. It's in the third quadrant. Then let's make our triangle. There's my 90-degree triangle. If I look at this that's given here, sine theta is -3/5. Okay, we know that on the Cartesian plane, we've got y over r when we are talking about sine. So those are actually the two sides of my triangle that's now been given. It's the y and the r. So r is going to be 5, always positive, and y is going to be -3. It's got to be negative, right? Because we are looking, this side here that I've drawn in is on the negative side of the y-axis, so it's got to be negative. Okay, and we left here with -x that we have to find, that we have to solve for. And how are we going to do that? We're going to use Pythagoras again to find the missing side. Now, we know our Pythagoras from grade 8 and grade 9, done lots of work with Pythagoras, r squared, and you might have your own way of doing this. That's all fine. X squared plus y squared. R squared is 5 squared because that's what I've got now. If I square -x, it is going to be x squared. And y squared is going to be -3 squared. So that is 25. That's x squared plus 9. I'm going to bring the 9 over and make that 16. And then x must be -4, right? Because I am on this side of the x-axis. That's why I get -4 for x. Okay, everyone happy? Please give a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you're not happy. Or ask a question if you're stuck, if I've lost you somewhere. All good, thanks, Asmachle. What about the rest of you? Kabetswe, I never hear from you. Ketlelo, Ketelo. You good? Ratilwe says he's good. Rabone, how are you doing over there? Very quiet. Sesetu, you also quiet tonight. Samuel says thumbs up. There's Rabone. Hello. Tukuzane. Good stuff. Smiley face. All good still. Good. Trish, I'd love to hear how you're doing as well. Just give us an indication if you are following and happy with what's going on. Okay, so now that we've done all of that thinking, great. That's good, Trish. Good to know that this is going well for you. All right, now let's see. Okay, thanks, Sisetu. Thanks for that, because I'm sure a few people are wondering about why is it -4? Well, it has to be -4. We're on the Cartesian plane, and the side over here, the one that I'm highlighting in green, that's on the negative side of the x's, right? So it has to be, even though the length of the side is 4, when I solve for it with my Pythagoras, I have to account for the fact that it's on the negative side of the x-axis. So that's why it ends up being -4. The same with the y. The y is -3. It's not just 3 because we're on the Cartesian plane. Okay, that's important because that is often something that people get wrong. And it's because of the fact that we're on the Cartesian plane and we have to work with positive and negative values depending on where the x's and the y's are. Okay, now let's tackle this. It says, what is cos theta plus sine theta? Now, cos theta is x over r. Our x is negative, so it will be -4 over 5. X over r. And sine theta, we know what that is. It's given in the question. We don't even have to think about that one. Okay? So that's -3 over 5. So can it be -5? Rabone, the r value, the hypotenuse side is always positive. Why is the 5 positive? Because that is the side, that's the hypotenuse side. Okay, so your r is always positive. The x and the y changes, but the r stays positive. Okay, so when you are writing your test and you're answering a question, this step you must show. Okay, this is worth a mark. I'll show you where your other marks are in case you were wondering. So for putting theta in the right place, that's a mark. For doing -3 in the right place, that's a mark. For calculating x, that's another one. And for putting the 5 in the right place, sometimes they give a mark for the 5, sometimes they give a mark for the quadrant, making sure that it's in the right quadrant. So that's also a mark. So you'll either get another mark for the 5 or another mark for the quadrant. I think most of the time they just do the quadrant. Okay, so you've got to put your theta in, got to put your sides in, got to label them correctly, and then you've got to use Pythagoras to calculate the missing side. Anyway, back to our question over here. I got sidetracked over there. Now, at this point, if you are not comfortable with fractions, you're scared you're going to make a mistake, you can use your calculator to work out what is -4 over 5 plus -3 over 5. That is going to be -7 over 5, but you must give it as a fraction, proper fraction. If it's a decimal, nah, no marks. Okay. Do tan theta on your own. Take a minute to do tan theta on your own. And then if you are happy with tan theta, then do question C, sine theta over cos theta. Then tell me if you notice something. Okay, Betsy, that's right. Just remember, we have to simplify. A negative and a negative make a positive. So write your final answer without the signs. So tan is y over r, so it's -3 over -4. And that gives me 3 over 4. That's what I mean with you have to simplify. Right, so we can now do sine theta over cos theta. We've done a lot of the thinking for that already in question A. We've got sine theta is -3/5 divided by cos theta is -4/5. Now you've got these fractions divided by fractions. But remember, if we divide a fraction, that is just the same as multiplying with the inverse. We can tip and times. If you're going to tip and times, then remember to not just tip, but also times. Yes, Togozani, that's right. 3/4. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, you can move on to question C when you're ready, when you're done. I've started question C for you. I want to see if you notice something. It's always something to notice in maths. Makes it interesting. Oh, Adam, now you just gave the whole thing away. C is also tan. Yes, it's true. Well done. So if you knew that, like Adam knew that, you could just go straight to 3/4. Otherwise, you could have gone the long way and worked it out, like I'm working it out over here, and you get 3/4. And that is because sine theta over cos theta is the same as tan theta. Okay, let's see about this one. Let's see if anyone knows straight off the bat what cos squared plus sine squared is. Asamachli says it's 1. I wonder if we can believe her. Everyone's saying it's 1 now. Let's see if it's really 1. Work it out properly. Work it out properly. And by properly, I mean, what is cos squared theta? Cos squared theta is -4/5 squared. And sine squared theta is -3/5 squared. Let's see if that really is 1. So I'm glad to see some of you actually know your identities already. So you know that sine theta over cos theta is tan theta, and you know that cos squared theta plus sine squared theta is 1. Good. Okay, here's another one. Before we move on, everyone happy with what we did in example 2? Everyone happy? Please put an emoji to show me how you feel about example 2. And if you are ready to move on to example 3. Great stuff, Tumelo. And Valerie. Excellent. This Kwababu 1. Please change your name to your real name, if you don't mind, so that we know who you are. What is your first name, please? Okay, Betsy, well done. Hi, Nolene. I think it's the first time I see you in class. Okay, specifically. Okay, right. Let's tackle example 3. Now it says 8 tan theta minus 6 is 0 and cos is smaller than 0. Without a calculator, determine sine of theta. Still doing a diagram. We can still only solve this with a diagram without a calculator. But what is going to be the first thing I need to do here? Who knows? Because I've got 8 tan theta minus 6 is equal to 0. Who wants to tell us what we must do first here? Okay, Tokozani says we have to take the minus 6 to the other side. Okay, I agree with that. And theta, we take minus 6 to the other side. We are going to add it, so that is 6. And then what are we going to do next? Tokozani, while you're at it, you might as well tell us what to do now that we've taken the 6 to the other side. Divide by 8, good stuff. Tan theta is 6 over 8. Yes, thanks, Oratiwe. That's right. We are going to divide by 6. Now, what is the next step in my thinking process? I have to decide what quadrant to draw in. So, here's my quadrant. And what we've got here is where tan is positive. In which quadrants? Tan is positive because 6 over 8 is positive, right? So tan will be positive in the first quadrant or the third quadrant, not positive in any of the other quadrants. At the same time, cos theta must be negative. Okay, so that helps you to eliminate one of the quadrants. Yes, that's right. We're going to draw in the third quadrant because that is also where cos is negative. Good stuff. So I'm going to draw my arm, my theta. The angle must be in the third quadrant over here. And then if I've drawn in my angle arm, I must put in my theta. Okay, that's a mark. Your theta is a mark. Then I'm going to draw my triangle. Am I going to draw it like that? Like that. Am I going to draw it like that? No, thanks, Lisa. No, that's right. That is wrong. We must always make the perpendicular with the x-axis. Like that. Okay, let's see. Let's see if my release is actually doing this right. So I go 8. No, wait. Let's do y. Is that right? Asimachli, what's wrong? What have I done wrong? You guys are saying, no, it's not right. But then tell me how I must fix it. Signs. Okay, good. This must be -6 and -8. We can't draw in the first quadrant because where tan, it says here that at the same time cos must be negative. So in the first quadrant, cos is positive. So we first look, where's tan positive? That's in the second, in the first and the third quadrant. Then at the same time, cos must be negative, and that is in the third quadrant, not in the first quadrant. In the first quadrant, cos is also positive. Does that help, Adam? Okay, cool. Right. So are we on my sides right now? Have I got it right? -6 and -8. Okay, I think they're right. I hope so. No, they are. So what's the next thing? Thanks. Thanks, Asimachlin Betswe. Thank you for helping me. Right, so what is now the next thing? What are we going to find next? Find R using Pythagoras. Okay, I'm just going to go straight ahead because I think you guys know that it must be x squared plus y squared. So I'm going to sub in straight away. X squared plus y squared. And that is 64 plus 36. And then R is 100. R squared is 100, so R is going to be 10. And we have to find, the question asks for sine theta. I'm going to do it on the side here. Sine theta is opposite over hypotenuse, or y over r. So that's -6 over 10. Simplify your fraction. -3 over 5. Okay, done. Right, I've got one last one here for you to do. Okay, work on your own now. Please don't put any answers in the chat. I want everyone to have a chance to spend some time thinking by themselves and do this question now before the end of our lesson today. If sine B is 2 over 5 and B is greater than 90, use a sketch in the correct quadrant to determine cos of B. So work through your steps, draw your diagram in the correct quadrant, and then solve. This is 4 marks, so let's make it 4 minutes. Yeah, let's see if we can do this in 4 minutes. Remember, you must work on about a mark a minute. Okay, if you are done, just indicate in the chat to me, either by giving a thumbs up or just saying that you're done. Anyway, you can see how far everyone is. Okay, I've got 1 more minute left. Valerie is done. Anyone else done yet? Tamelo's done. Nkaniso is done. Tokozane is done. Awesome. Okay, looks like most of you are done. Let's remove the green block to reveal the answer. Ta-da! Okay. So, let me just fix something here quickly. Okay. So it says that sine B is 2/5 and beta is greater than 90 degrees. Use a sketch. Okay, so we had to draw in the second quadrant. So if you want to, you can give yourself a tick for drawing in your beta or your B, your angle B, for putting in your sides in the correct place. So that's minus x, and that's 2. And then also for drawing in the correct quadrant. Then you had to calculate what x was using Pythagoras, and that is root 21. But because we are on the Cartesian plane, that's going to be negative root 21. Okay, so that's another mark. And then cos B is negative x over r, and that's negative root 21 over 5. Okay, you keep that 21 in a root. Don't use a decimal. Not at all, because the question says no calculator. And the minute you give it away that you're using a calculator, you lose the marks. Okay, so give yourself a mark out of 6. So on your sketch, you had to show your angle, draw in the correct quadrant, then put your 2 and your 5 and your negative x in the right place, and then solve for x using Pythagoras, and then cos B is minus root 21 over 5. Right. Can I see how we did? What mark did we get? Please put your mark in the chat if you're comfortable. Don't 4, 5, 6, 4, 4, 6, 5. Nice, guys. A 4 and a 6, a 4, 5, and 6. That's great. Excellent. 6. Good stuff. All right. Great. That's all from me tonight. This is, like I say, this is the first question you always get on your trig test and in your trig exam and your matric final exam in the trig section. This is going to be the first question. So if you feel good tonight, then that's great. Then you've already conquered a lot. Okay, so keep going, and I'm going to hand over to Michaela.
Hi guys, well done on today's lesson. I think you guys are doing really well. So I'm just gonna go into your homework for the week and yeah, just give you an overview of what we did so far. So we did lesson 1 already, which was some grade 10 revision. We just finished our Pythagoras type questions, and we're going to be doing reduction part 1 in our next lesson. So yes. Okay, so now for the homework, you're going to go under pick a topic. You're going to look for trigonometry. Once you click into there, you're going to look for trig on the Cartesian plane. And then you're going to go to Pythagoras, draw a diagram. So that is your homework for this week. I'm just going to leave it up so you guys can maybe write it down or take a picture. But yeah, I just want to say well done to everyone, and well done for always being so consistent and putting in all this work. You guys really deserve an applause. So well done.